Welcome back to BLOCKTV, and you're watching Chainbreakers, where we get the chance to meet the people shaping the sphere. In the realm of distributed ledger technology, we sometimes forget that there are alternatives to blockchain, but IOTA is here to remind us of that. The Internet of Things-focused platform works on a directed acyclic graph, or DAG, called the Tangle. To break down what the company is doing, we're joined via Zoom by IOTA's co-founder, Dominik Schiener. Hi, how are you?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us today. So in a recent announcement, it was just made really a few days ago, IOTA has partnered with Zylka to accelerate machine-as-a-service solutions. Can you please break that down a bit? What does this partnership entail? What are you expecting to get out of this partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. So Zylka is a Swiss company that is really focused on digital innovation, especially in the manufacturing space. So they have about 1,000 employees and they're steadily growing. And the exciting part, obviously, is that the entire manufacturing space is ripe for innovation. And one of the most important discussions there is how can you actually reduce costs and how can you really go towards Industry 4.0, which means automation and autonomy of machines, and also obviously reducing costs and increasing efficiency. And that is why this partnership with IOTA made a lot of sense for them. Because one of the most exciting use cases for the Industry 4.0 sector is really machines as a service, meaning that you as a big corporate, you as a manufacturer no longer need to acquire the machines that you have in your factory, but you can simply utilize them on demand. And that really rapidly changes the ownership structure in these factories and really reduces costs and also brings new security, because now with IOTA, we can ensure the data authenticity from the machines, and we can also make these machines earn money by selling data.
What is your demographic? So, and what is the aim for this solution as a whole? Who are you guys targeting?
So the big focus at IOTA is obviously the entire industry sector, all of these different industries. And we are not that much a consumer platform, but we really want to enable big corporates to innovate with our platform to build new products for their enterprise clients. And so right now the focus with Zylka is obviously Germany, but it also goes beyond that in Asia, where companies are more open to these new innovative solutions. But it's definitely a global play that we're going here. But Zylka is just one recent example of an exciting announcement that we've had. And
yes, of course. No, and we're absolutely going to, we're going to talk. IOTA is doing a lot in general. There's always a lot of news. But then before we get into all of those other announcements and exciting projects, can you please break down how IOTA differs from other blockchains, from distributed ledger technologies that we commonly see? So break down that DAG aspect for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of this can be really summarized with that we at IOTA have been doing things completely differently from everybody else in the space. That started with the technology itself, meaning that we were the first ones to no longer utilize a blockchain, but we innovated further by utilizing this DAG architecture. And what's very unique about this DAG architecture is that we have a very different approach to consensus, meaning that we no longer utilize miners, which are obviously a major bottleneck. They use a lot of electricity. They require a lot of transaction fees and also a centralization component. We got rid of the miners and we made it possible for everybody in the network to also be part of this consensus approach. Meaning that if you want to execute a transaction in IOTA, you also have to validate transactions. And that is always a very egalitarian approach, meaning that all of the machines that are participating in the network, they're also securing the network itself. And as such, once we are removing a coordinate, it becomes a completely decentralized and permissionless ledger that is actually scalable. And the biggest advantage of this new architecture that we introduced is that it's much more scalable because it's no longer limited to the block sizes and the block times, and it has no transaction fees. And as an example with Zylka, what we want to enable is true micropayments so that you can pay per resource unit that you utilize, meaning per second that you utilize it, per data package that you buy, and so on and so forth. And the only way to achieve that is via micropayments and having no transaction fees. And that is why IOTA is truly this, we're positioning IOTA really as this trust layer for our digital society.
I mean, it also sounds that the network is reliant upon people using it to then work faster based on how you use that to validate people. But then going into these announcements and statements that have recently come out, recently IOTA introduced Chronicle, which is, and I'm quoting here, a solution that will allow its node owners to easily store all of their transactions and maintain uninterrupted access to that data. Can you please expand on that a bit? What is the goal of this move, and why was it important for you within the scope of IOTA's expansion?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I can actually take a step back to one of the biggest problems that we have with blockchains. So the Bitcoin blockchain size today is about 200 gigabytes. And now imagine a machine being able to keep up with the network. It's impossible. And as such, we introduced local snapshots I think like a year ago or so. And what local snapshots enabled is that node operators can basically discard their database up to a certain point, meaning they no longer care about the entire history. And now the next iteration of this is Chronicle. Chronicle is really a product that we at IOTA developed that makes it easy to store the entire history of IOTA and query this database in a very scalable way. And the interesting part about Chronicle is that it was really a demand from the industry, because the industry has very different problems, right? So for example, with financial transactions, you need to store that data for up to 10 years. And now if we think about IOTA doing hundreds or thousands of transactions per second, you want to be able to query this data in a very scalable and a very fast manner. And that is what Chronicle is there for. And this really fits into the entire mission and purpose of the IOTA Foundation, because our purpose is to create the foundational protocol, which is the IOTA Tangle, but to also create these building blocks that sit on top of IOTA that enable companies to be productive and to create commercial applications with our technologies.
So essentially a tool that was developed because of this need that you recognized within the space. But I would like to take us back a bit to 2018, kind of to break down what it was that IOTA did and then work from there. So in 2018, IOTA and Volkswagen, I believe it was, worked on a project called the Digital Car Pass, right? Within the collaboration, there was a proof of concept. It was demonstrated at the Summit 2018 Expo. Now, currently, the IOTA Foundation is partnering with Jaguar for tracing car energy. What are the differences between those projects? And so, for instance, what are you doing now versus what you were doing then?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. And I think this really goes down to 2018 was a proof of concept stage, meaning many companies came to us for exploratory reasons because they wanted to figure out and demystify what IOTA can do for them. And that is why we've done and announced several proof of concepts that we've done with bigger corporates. But what we are transforming ourselves into is no longer just doing proof of concepts, but actually focusing on how can we go towards this production-ready state. And that is why we are very much focused on test beds this year, meaning that we bring together different corporate partners to work on a complete use case, to validate the technology, meaning IOTA, and to validate the use case on top of that. So the most recent example of that is what happened in Trondheim, where we showcased how the building can sell electricity to the car, and the car can also now validate that this is green energy. And what's exciting about this is that we had about 4 partners involved in that, including ENGIELab, JLR, and Entra, and some universities. And this is really our vision of basically crossing the chasm, making sure that we, together with our corporate partners, go towards this production readiness. And JLR is an excellent example where they are willing to take that next step with their smart wallet and to explore with different partners on how IOTA can really be made ready for the future and how their business models can be made ready for the future.
So I mean, I mentioned the Summit 2018, and I have to be honest here, that was my introduction to IOTA, that proof of concept. I'll never forget, yep. I wish we had a video here, but I'll never forget the cars and kind of the entire ecosystem that was demonstrated there for this reason. Now with that introduction, and I was excited about this proof of concept and what IOTA was doing. And I did mention earlier that IOTA is an Internet of Things based platform essentially, but with all of that, do you think that IOTA was developed before its time?
No, I don't think so. I think we were definitely one of the projects that really had a really grandiose vision. and a very ambitious vision, which is to make it possible for machines to transact with each other, to have this machine economy. And that is a very huge vision, right? But I think what has become very apparent over the last few months is that this vision is really becoming reality, because many of the corporate partners that we have on board share this vision. They understand machines need to have wallets, machines need to become autonomous in order for IoT to truly take off. And they also understand that there's some enormous potential here in generating new revenue, because these are really business models that help transform entire corporates into basically having an entire fleet of vehicle that is autonomously operated, and so on and so forth, right? So it's really transforming the mindset of the corporates and also their business models. And as I said before, we're really seeing this become a reality. And what's very exciting about IOTA is that at this stage, we are really a self-sufficient ecosystem. And what that means is that we at the IOTA Foundation, we no longer need to do much more of the hand-holding of the corporates. We no longer need to do much outreach anymore, but corporates actually come to us because they want to partner with us, because they buy into this vision. And that's really what's going to bring much more scale into the adoption of IOTA. So I definitely don't think that we are too early for our time. I think that we are one of the few projects that is actually on track to realize the full potential and the vision of distributed ledgers.
Okay, and so with that, we have automation, we have Internet of Things, machine learning, a lot of, I mean, you said grandiose vision for IOTA and for when it's coming up. And with all these announcements recently, what can you tell us about the future plans of IOTA? Where do you see the IOTA Foundation and what you guys are doing in 5 years, let's say?
Yeah, so at this stage, the IOTA Foundation has 120 employees. So we are probably one of the largest organizations in the space as well. We've always been deep down focused on realizing our vision. And so that obviously includes some more progress on the research and engineering side, where we are very much focused on Corticite and making sure that the IOTA protocol itself is production ready and it is standardized. And this is where we are making some very exciting progress. But obviously the role of the IOTA Foundation is to enable startups, enable corporates, and to enable governments to innovate with our technology. And so I hope that by 2020, we will see some exciting products on the market that will actually have an impact. Because at the end of the day, everything today is a proof of concept. Bitcoin is a proof of concept. Ethereum is a proof of concept. IOTA is a proof of concept. But we need to be able to cross this chasm. And only once we can actually see the impact that the technology like IOTA has on our lives, then we'll be happy. Then we can say we've actually achieved something with our technology. Right now, it's still in the progress and innovation phase. But that is definitely what we'll see in 2020 happen.
And then in 2025, do you still see that as being true, or do you see this Internet of Things reality realized and that IOTA is functioning as something necessary?
So one thing to realize is that the vision of IOTA goes beyond IoT. As I said before, we see IOTA as a trust layer for our digital society and our digital economy. And that includes everything that has to do with value transfers, meaning machine-to-machine payments, but also data. And this is really what we are seeing become a much more interesting trend. Like Andrew Yang saying that you should own your own data and you should be able to make your decisions on who actually gets access to your data. That is really something that we at the IOTA Foundation want to enable, because we have the protocol that can really be the backbone of this data economy. And also giving people ownership over the data and ownership over their identities. And that is why at the IOTA Foundation, we are very much focused on data and digital identities. And so the IOTA Foundation is definitely positioning itself as one of the thought leaders and also advocacy groups for this future of full ownership over your data and being able to make your own decisions on also selling and monetizing your data.
Well, hopefully people will absolutely care more about their privacy soon and owning their own data. It seems to be an increasingly important topic that we're discussing, and it looks like IOTA is on the forefront of trying to figure out how we can exactly do that. Thank you very much, Dominik Schiener, co-founder of IOTA. It was great to have you on with us today. For all you folks at home watching at BLOCKTV.com, keep on watching for more blockchain and cryptocurrency related news.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.